With this film, we would like to introduce you to an until now nearly unknown Dutch painter, Adriaan Korteweg. This man lived a century ago and only painted 3 years of his life. Most of his work was made in Munich, in the immediate vicinity of the painters of the Blauwe Reiter. Korteweg studied architecture in Delft, but during his internship in Amsterdam, he became so involved with art that he broke off his studies in order to paint. Shortly afterwards, he saw an exhibition of Kandinsky and read his book on the spiritual in art. He was so taken by these ideas that he decided to meet him. Korteweg hired a studio in Munich, and within a few days of his arrival, in March 1913, he knocked on the door of the Russian painter. Soon an artistic conspiracy was developed between the two of them, which made Kandinsky write to Franz Marc, "But the new paintings, the new art, the only new, really interesting thing which is now really alive is the paintings of a young Dutchman who once visited me and now comes from time to time." Kandinsky introduced him to his friends, and Korteweg learned a lot from the artist of the Blauwe Reiter, like how to make engravings, and he designed one of the front pages for the famous art magazine Der Sturm on expressionist art. It is also via those artists that Korteweg discovered El Greco, who would influence him thoroughly and through whose work he found his own voice. The important art initiator Herwald Walden invited Korteweg for the famous Autumn Exposition in Berlin, which was largely dedicated to the painters of the Blauwe Reiter, but also showed work of many important European contemporaries, like Fernand Léger, Hans Arp, Paul Klee, Marc Chagall, Gino Severini, Mondriaan and Max Ernst. Korteweg was represented with 4 paintings. Back in Holland, his interest for theosophy grew. This was an important international spiritual movement. Both Mondriaan and Kandinsky were largely influenced by the ideas of Madame Blavatsky. By then, the Great War has broken out. Being a pacifist, Korteweg refused to go in the army, upon which he was brought to prison, where he falls ill. After he was being dismissed, at the beginning of 1917, he took a boat to India in order to visit temples. But due to malnutrition and neglect, he ended up in a hospital in Madras. There he wrote to his only friend Dirk Koning, to whom he entrusted his possessions before the journey, that he wanted to come home. But his health is aggravating further, and he died in the hospital on the 12th of November, 27 years old. Everything he owned, letters and all his drawings and paintings, go to Dirk Koning, who is the sole heir in Korteweg's will. Though well related to the art world via his wife, the well-known painter Lou Luber, Koning obviously doesn't have a clue what to do with it and stacks the collection in a tool shed where it stays hidden for 60 years. At the end of his life, he decided that Herman Krikar, a longtime friend and collector of his wife's paintings, should be involved. Simultaneously with today's exhibition at the Foundation, Korteweg's work is visible in the Prado at the fundamental exhibition of El Greco and modern painting, featuring Manet, Cézanne, Schiele, Bacon, Jackson Pollock and Picasso. Korteweg's version dialogues with El Greco's Laocoon, the masterpiece of the Prado exhibition. Slowly but surely, Korteweg finds the place he deserves in art history. And this is not just because he was the only Dutch artist who was in close contact with Kandinsky and the Blauwe Reiter, but on his own merit. His work still astonishes us in its achievement and modernity, and shows a profound spirituality in a high personal style.